listening to the Inspire Excellence podcast, recorded at the BVA headquarters with your hosts Bill Whitaker and Tommy Alquist. Bill is the former CEO of the J.R. Simplot Company and is now a full-time adventure seeker and philanthropist. Tommy is the CEO of BVA Development, co-founder of Crush the Curve Idaho, and most importantly, a full-time grandfather. Each episode focuses on sharing the stories of individuals who are changing the world.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Inspire Excellence podcast. We are completely excited today, Bill Whitaker and I, to have these two guests on with us today. Actually, celebrities here in Idaho. I mean, we've got Korey Hall. As you know, we've had him here as a guest, but Korey is a dear friend and actually one of our partners here at BVA. And then we're really thrilled to have our new coach, head coach at Boise State, Andy Avalos, join us. Andy, we're like pumped because this is a big deal. Bill and I have been really excited to get you on. So welcome aboard, and we're looking forward to chatting with you today.
Well, Bill, Tommy, I appreciate you guys taking the time to have me on, and I'm excited about it, and really looking forward to this conversation. I get to conversate with that guy over there, Korey, all the time. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys, and I get to talk to the pride of Glens Ferry all the time. So let's get rolling.
Now that is ideal. The pride of Glens Ferry. That's ideal.
He's the pride of Glens Ferry and a lot of other things. But hey,
and Idaho.
Before we get going here,
the son of Idaho.
Let's
embarrass him a little bit. Let's turn him red. The son of Idaho. We're talking about the son of Idaho right there.
Hey, before we had to have both of you on, but you were roommates, right? At BSU, and you both played in some of the most famous games there were. And I remember watching you as just a fan, and just so to have you both on here. And I know for Korey, he's so excited you're back here in town. But talk a little bit about that friendship and that teamwork, because once you're a team and you go through those battles, that's a forever thing. And I know Korey's really excited to have you here. But tell us a little bit about you guys' friendship.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, obviously, we grew up here together at Boise State. We learned a lot together and had a lot of fun times on and off the field. You spoke about some of the games we played in and some of the things we got to do on the blue here together and helping build this place and build the chemistry of teams. But a lot of that was done off the field too as well. And going down the Glens Ferry or hanging around here in Boise and being able to experience this state. And so, we call it a brotherhood here, and it's, a lot of people throw that term around loosely, I believe it, but here it truly is. And there's certain guys, obviously like Korey, we're really tight. We're truly like brothers. Our families are really close. Our kids get to grow up here again now. And that was one of the hardest things when we left, was that our kids were really attached, to our friends, the guys that we played with. A lot of us, there's something in the water here. We all got girls. We're going to have a really good soccer team here in the next few years. But, the beautiful part about it is they all get to grow up together, and it's like having a whole nother set of cousins.
Awesome. Korey, what do you have to say?
Oh, it's kind of surreal for me. Like, it's being in the construction industry like we are, and just, all the guys that were there at BSU and teammates of mine, and, trying to do business with them. And, it's crazy how many people in our industry are somehow in the construction industry and doing business with us right now. But then to see a guy like Andy, come full circle and end up being the head coach at BSU is big time. And so real excited for him, and looking forward to a few good years to come.
So, hey, Korey, when you played together and you were together on a day-to-day basis, what would you have imagined for Andy's future? I mean, could you have imagined that he was going to be the head coach of Boise State?
I thought he was going to be a movie star right out of college. You guys don't know this.
That life was not for me.
You guys don't know this, but I think there's only one person on this call that's been in a movie.
Yeah. Who was that?
Like a for real movie. Have you seen The Gridiron Gang?
Yeah.
The Gridiron Gang. No, I have not. So, Andy, what were you in the Gridiron Gang?
Well, I apologize real quick here. Let me I was actually the middle linebacker in the Gridiron Gang, which was my next stint after Boise State. However, I apologize. We got some difficulties going on here on my screen. So give me 1 second here. I'm trying to.
Oh, he's going to pull up some crap.
No, I'm not pulling up anything right now. I have no idea what just happened here. But coming out of college, it was either go play in Canada or I'm 5'10", 220 pounds, move on to the next chapter of my life. And needless to say, we went that route. And so I tried out for this movie called Gridiron Gang and ended up being the middle linebacker in the movie. How about that?
That's great. Did you have a speaking part too?
I did have a speaking part. I got to break the huddle once. I was so good at lines and doing stuff like that. They gave me like 5 words and said, "You're good. No more for you."
I think they call it an extra, Bill.
Oh, is that it? That's beautiful.
That's great.
Well, if I were you, Andy, I would have brought Korey in with me. So.
Well, that would have been awesome. He was kind of tied up, though.
Yeah, he was. That's right.
My dad says I have a face for radio, so I probably wouldn't have.
Hey, before we get asking you some questions, I'll tell you one thing that's pretty funny about Korey is, I think the term he uses is he's been a little huskier since he stopped playing in the NFL. But he goes on a trip every year, and he goes on this crash diet, and he goes from being kind of this husky Glens Ferry farmer to Zeus in about 3 weeks, and then he goes right back. He gains all the way back.
So he goes from being Dan Hall to
we're catching him right now at Zeus because you're going to Mexico in like 2 days, right?
I told him, like, this isn't like a sustainable diet that I'm going to do for a long time. I'm training for like a prize fight that's going to happen in 2 weeks, and I'm just not eating. So.
Weigh-in days coming up quick.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, well, thanks for being on here, Andy. Before we get started here, a lot of people know you, but you have. We talked a little bit about your kids before we started the episode here, but your 2 daughters. Tell us a little bit about your family and just about how excited they are about this opportunity.
Yeah, no question. So my wife, Summer, we've been married going on 11 years now, and we have a 7-year-old named Peyton and a 4-year-old, soon to be 5, named Paige. And she pretty much runs the house and runs everything that goes on at our household. So, you know what, it is that's the biggest gift that the Lord has given is the opportunity to have a family like that. And obviously my wife is the head coach at home and does a tremendous job. And as we're in this transition, she's done an unbelievable job being able to obviously facilitate everything that goes on with a big move like this, and so that we can focus on what we're doing here. And so really looking forward to getting them out here from Eugene in the next couple of weeks and being all back together.
That's great. That's great. And
one thing you are doing is you're moving from a really neat place, and you live in a great place, and but I think it'll be an easy transition, and I think you're expecting a fairly easy transition with that.
Yes, in terms of the family, there's no question. I mean, that's one of the things that coming back to Boise, this is home. This is always going to be home. Whenever we plan, this is our new home. We're originally from Southern California, but we call this our home now. We have family and stuff still back down there, but we always intended to make this our home. So that in itself was a dream come true, to be able to come back here, and a blessing to bring the family back here and get them all reunited with all the family and friends here.
Hey, Andy, let me ask you another question. So there is so much excitement amongst my group of friends that are big time Boise State fans, donors, alumni of the program. They just are so excited about you coming back. And then on the very next thing they see is this incredible coaching staff you brought together. And you had to do it relatively quickly. But as all of us have followed quickly, and we read the bios and the histories of this team you've put together, I wonder if you could tell us a couple things about what was important to you when you selected that team that's going to be your coaching staff, and tell us a little bit about that process as quick as it went, and tell us a little bit about how you pulled that off.
Yeah, no question, Tommy. Well, even before the interview process actually started, and I'm sure much like for you guys, when you get ready to start a new venture, start something new, you got to consider the people first that are going to help you do this and be a huge part of it. And even before the interview process, reaching out, when we knew we were going to have an opportunity to interview, it was about reaching out to a few huge pieces of the coaching staff and being able to share a vision with them obviously one was already here, being Spencer Danielson, and he wasn't going anywhere. That's another brother right there, and he's been a huge part of this place and will continue to be a huge part of this place. The offensive coordinator, Tim Plow, reaching out to him before this interview process even started. He's a guy that came up through the likes of Chris Peterson, some other friends in the business that actually have interviewed him and thought he was an unbelievable mind and person. And then Frank Miley, our D-line coach, assistant head coach. To be honest with you, it made going through the interview process a lot more comfortable, knowing that those are the guys that were going to come do this, and those guys giving us their commitment to come be a part of this with us prior to going into the interview. One of the things that I said in the interview is that I was able to lay my head down on the pillow, the night before going into it with the confidence, knowing that those men were going to be with us and going through this new journey and creating this thing. And so we felt really good about that foundation of the staff starting off. Once we obviously got here, it was a matter of building it together. We had a really good idea of who the people were that we wanted to bring here to Boise. But it was about building it with those key pieces that we already had in place, again, so that everybody had, an influence on the staff, the coordinators, the assistant head coach, and so that we can do this collectively together. And so we're lucky. I was telling, we were talking about it before we jumped on here. We've already had a battle off a couple of the Pac-12 schools trying to come and get our coaches, and we'll continue to do that. And it's not only because of the tradition of Boise State and this environment that we're creating here that these guys are excited about, but ultimately these men, they want to raise their families here. They want to live in this city. They want to live in this valley with their families. This is obviously a unique place, and it's got a lot more than just one thing. And so as we were doing that, obviously we're looking for men that are great teachers and mentors. That comes with it, right? We got to find those guys that really know football, but more importantly, that are really good fathers, really good husbands, that are going to be able to come here and have a great impact on these young men in their lives. Just like, Korey and I mean, shoot, we started with a great foundation, but the coaches here and the people that were involved in this program helped us develop as young men and kept us out of trouble for the most part, and allowed us to succeed and get to where we're at now.
That's fantastic.
So Andy, when you have a group of assistant coaches and coordinators, I mean, bringing those guys together as a team is huge. But how do they bond between? I mean, do you feel the bonding starting to happen with your team, with your coaches?
There's no question. There's people that that come up on the second floor in this facility to drop by to visit. Obviously, we mask up, keep all the protocols on point, right? But there's people that come through here, and the last thing they say before they walk out is, well, the energy and the vibe is something different. But again, that goes back to how we built it, right? We had our core foundation. We had the coordinators. We had the assistant head coach. We all built it together. We all went through the interviews. For the first 2 weeks, we were grinding on interviews, and it didn't matter. It could have been an offensive coach we were interviewing. The defensive coaches were in there, because guess what? We're going to share this hallway. We're going to share these offices. We're going to share our locker room. We're going to do a lot together off the field. And so to be able to build it together, although we had a pretty good idea of who we wanted to fill the rest of the staff out, it was more important that we built it together so that we had that chemistry. In doing so and building this team, we were also building our chemistry as we went through that hiring process.
Yeah, hey, I love a couple of things you've said to me, just how important that chemistry or that culture is. And for Bill and I think in the business world, we'd agree 100%. We've all built teams, and Bill and I have talked about this a little bit. The pain of getting the wrong person in the wrong place on the bus, or it's just, if you could try to avoid those mistakes early on, it really just saves you a lot of work in the back end, or retraining, or just the disruption of having the wrong people on board. And I got to tell you, as an outsider kind of watching this put together, you obviously, part of your leadership strength is being able to, one, read someone and judge their character and how they're going to fit in, and two, know that they're going to fit in that culture. And I think Bill and I would that jump up and down and say that's important, whether you're running a small business, a big business like Bill did with lots of employees, or coaching a football team. It's culture. Can you talk a little bit about that culture and how that really motivates people and pulls them together?
Well, you said it, being able to read people, right? Because sometimes there's a facade. you got to get through some external things and what's really on the outside and really get to what's on the inside. And that's the biggest part right there, is being able to read people, not rush through that process, and really sit down and have real conversations about what's important. And there's certain questions you can ask that will trigger things that really find out how people feel in terms of, are they about serving? Are they leaders? Are they true leaders that are going to serve first and work to have an impact on others? Or is it a leader that wants to be out in front and have that light shining on him instead of building that light that's shining inside of him? And for me, that's what everything was, is about finding those type of people that are going to come and help people grow here. Because every position, everybody we're bringing into this building too, we want them to continue to grow. I want to be able to grow from them. Obviously, they've got to be able to grow in their roles and whatever that is. And whether that's a coach, a staff member, a player, we view it all the same, right? So when it comes to your point about, the culture, that word anymore almost gets swiped like a credit card. You don't have to pay back, right? And so sometimes it almost becomes like a cringe because you just hear it so much. And obviously that word became very famous here, to the likes of Chris Peterson, who's done an unbelievable job and is an expert at creating what creates a culture, which is an environment. And that's what we're focused on right now, is creating an environment that has a foundation that we believe in, that we've all, first off, a foundation that we've all put input into, habits that are built off that foundation that everybody in the program has contributed to, the players, more importantly, so that they're invested. Everybody in this building has contributed to the habits that fuel our environment every single day. And that environment, it's not going to create itself. Every single day we have to come here and have a positive impact and live those habits. Those habits become our values. Obviously, over time, consistency within those habits in this environment, that's going to create our mentality. And we always say it, at that point, that's reality. Your habits become your reality, which is your mentality, and ultimately that C word that everyone wants to jump forward to and just start talking about that. But it's about these things that we believe that's going to create the reality that we want.
Hey, Korey, I'm assuming, Korey, that you've experienced different cultures. And when Andy talks of this, it really is appealing to me, because I think that's the way businesses work, or should work also. But we've been in cultures that aren't quite right, or missing the wrong person or whatever. But the point is, it's that important. And I'm sure I'm assuming you may have experienced some differences in culture that would be less than ideal, should I say.
Bill, I was just listening to Andy talk there, and I've been fortunate, from Glens Ferry to Boise State to Green Bay and New Orleans. I've been fortunate to be in a good environment and a positive environment. So I think it's helped me kind of become who I am. And I think the one thing, just listen to Andy talk and what he's about to go into, and just being able to know that you're going to have an impact on kids' lives. And I just think back to my experience at Boise State and Green Bay. And what I didn't realize at the time is, these coaches, I was around some great coaches, and Chris Peterson, Dan Hawkins, had some really big impacts in my life. But what I didn't realize until later on, the younger guys underneath me and my peers, the impact that I had on their life. And if I had it to do over again, I think I would do some things differently, just knowing that you're also a role model for the guys around you. And that's something, being here at BVA, we have a great environment here, but when I come to work, trying to be that guy that, people want to be around, and people want to help, and people want to be a teammate, right? And I think that's what's great about our office is, we have an environment, but we also have the culture, and everybody in here is wired the same way. Like when we get here in the morning, like we're going to go get it. And we all know, sometimes it gets a little mixed up on, who's on first and who's doing this, but we always figure it out and figure out a way to be successful every day. So, and, definitely hats off to our team here, for what we've done, even since I've been here in the last couple of years. It's amazing, when you step back from it. But definitely, I think a guy like Andy, we're talking about the same environment, and so looking forward to that.
But Korey, you have to admit the place operates better when Tommy's gone.
Well, yeah. Well, so let me tell you how that looks. So we all sit down for beer golfing when Tommy's gone, and Holden's doing all the work.
When the cat's away, the mice play for sure here. Hey, so one quick thing, and I got a question for you, Andy. But Korey, I was going to tell you as you're talking last night. I went to a high school basketball game with one of the interns that's working under Korey. I haven't even told you this yet, but I'm sitting there at this high school basketball game with him. His name's Tate. And I said, hey, how's it going? How has it been working under Korey Hall? Because, he's been, and he looked at me and he's like, you know what? This is probably the best experience I've ever had. I've never been with someone that works harder, teaches me more. I love it. I love every single moment I'm with him. And so it's kind of cool that, listening to you guys talk about how you inspired yourself, how you had great mentors, and then how life really becomes about giving back and taking those things you learn and training that next generation. But Korey, you may not be training someone on the football field, but I'm telling you, this kid, his eyes were this big and he was just like, man, I love this guy. And it's just really cool. So, hey, Andy, I got one question for you. So Korey, one of the things I asked him today in getting prepared for this, gosh, major college football, this is like the pressure cooker of all pressure cookers. I mean, you're coming into this thing where there's just such an expectation for you. And I said to Korey, I said, hey, is Andy nervous? Is he nervous about this? And he looked like immediately looked at me and he's like, are you kidding me? He's like, this guy was built for this. He's not nervous at all. He's like ready to go. There's no nervous with this guy. So I love the answer, but asking you now, how do you feel about like taking on this role of head coach here at such a storied university?
Yeah, there's no question. And people ask, about the pressure and this and that. I mean, I got asked the other day, someone asked me, so how do you feel about having to answer all the questions, after a game? Why'd you go for it? Why didn't you go for it and all that? And I paused, and what I really wanted to say, I couldn't say. I wanted to say, I'll tell you guys now, I'm like, if I was really thinking about that right now, that is so shallow and not doing what we're actually talking about is being in the immediate and having an impact on what's going to take care of all that later, And I was like, I haven't even thought about that, to be honest with you. And so I think one of the things always is just staying focused on the task at hand and having fun with that. To your point about what the impact Korey's having on that young man working in your guys' company there and being in that environment is when you just focus on what you're doing right now and what you're trying to create right now. I always thought the rest will take care of itself later. And when you focus on the things that are present and the things that that are important right now, the rest will handle itself because you can't worry about things that are that far down the road, and the most important thing for us right now after our first 30 days is reevaluating our environment that we set to create in the first 30. And so in the second 30, we can continue to improve these habits that we're talking about. And easier said than done, as you guys know, much easier said than done, because now you're starting to look back at the things, that we set out to do. And you got to have you got to be real and honest about what it looks like right now and find those areas where you can go have a positive impact and make it better. And that's what we're doing.
So, I'm sitting here thinking about, I wonder how high, as a fan, I wonder how high my expectations should be for this next season. And I feel really good about it. I feel good about the coaching staff, of course, the head coach. I feel great about the university. I really like the flavor of the way the support's coming in from the community. And from what I can tell, I think you've got a pretty good staff of players to come along with it. So how high should my expectations be for this coming year?
See, now he's putting me on the spot. Bill, you put me on the spot now, but you know what? Sky's the limit.
Yeah,
because you're 100% right. We got to stay humble and hungry. That's always the key, right? We got to stay humble and hungry. Stay to the task at hand, who we've been, and grow off of that. Bring some of the new things that we've learned. Some of the new coaches that we brought in from their experiences. And
right.
One of the other pieces too is that we were looking for when we're hiring the staff is consistency. We didn't want guys that were jumping around from place to place every couple of years. We want consistency here, because when Boise State was really, really at the pinnacle and really good, there was consistency in the coaching staff. And you'll see even at every level, there's consistency in whatever organization, right? Because the people are invested, they're a part of every day. They're not looking to make the next move. They're not looking for this or that. And so obviously trying to create that within our roster, our players, and we got a good roster. To your point, Bill, we do got good players. Are we, we're going to continue to improve that as we move along. But number one, just like we spoke about to them this morning, it's about building these habits within inside, and that in itself will make the X's and O's. And what we get judged on, obviously, is to what your guys' point, what we get judged on is on the field. But what we take to heart and who we are is everything we do before we get on the field.
Hey, Andy, if and this for you or Korey, but a transition here. I guess I've been in town here over 20 years, and went through the dirt cutter to Dan Hawkins to Chris Peterson. You go through all those different transitions. This is a big transition for the community. But if you're a big fan, and I know there's a lot of my friends are super fans, is there anything we could be doing for you right now in the university? Is there anything that you would say to the community? There's a new president there too, right? And so a lot of the people I hang out with, they're saying, hey, we got a new president, we got a new coach, we got, we're coming out of COVID, which has been hard for everyone, but is there anything you would tell the community on how we could help you really, really make this thing special?
Well, I think number one, realizing the year we just came out of, the pandemic and those things, is difficult on a lot of different people. We're obviously 2021, here we go. We do have a new president. We have a brand new AD, obviously brand new head coach, and myself. The thing that I was really excited about is the direction and the support, that Dr. Trump provided in her vision where we would move forward as an athletic department. And obviously the man she went and found to run the athletic department in Jeremiah Dickey. That we sat in a hotel room and we hashed it out, and we didn't talk no football. Just like right now, we've talked a little bit of football. Bill tried to put me on the spot about expectations and things like that. But we sat in a hotel room. I sat in there with Jeremiah Dickey, and we hashed it out about having each other's back, about our visions and what it looked like. And I was sold. If they wanted me, I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of the vision where this thing's going to go forward from here. Obviously, we're coming out of a year where we weren't allowed to have fans in the stands. And so that's a big deal. Playing in this stadium right here, this is a storied place. There's a lot of tradition right here. The blue is known all around. I'll tell you, you look outside these windows, there's probably people trying to see inside the blue right now. Day in and day out, there's people trying to get in this stadium. And Jeremiah asked the other day, how come there's barbed wire on the outside of our stadium? I'm like, boss, because there are people trying to climb that fence to get in and check it out and be like, who goes where? I said, that's why we got barbed wire. To his point, though, like, he wants to improve everything. He wants everything to look immaculate. He wants to build this place up. His energy is unbelievable. He works like a coach. He works tirelessly, the hours he puts in. And so I would ask that, everybody in this community in due time is going to get a chance to meet him in person. And the people that have supported us, and they're going to be really excited about his vision going forward and taking the next steps and growing this place, because the opportunities are everywhere. As you guys see it in your careers and in your business fields, in your arenas, it's the same for us, but that's where it's all of us doing it together. And I would ask that, whatever the capacity is that they allow us to put in this stadium, if that's 50, all 50, we're going to fight our way into having 100%. And when we get this thing 100%, it's back to being sold out like it was when 2-5 and I were playing here. And in those times when this was only, whatever, at that point, 35,000, it's a couple thousand more now, but it was one of the loudest places in the nation to play. And we went and played in SEC stadiums and all that stuff. The atmosphere here, Jeremiah's about changing the game day atmosphere and creating something new for the fans. So the experience, people want to come and be back a part of this. And then obviously we're going to get out in the community and let them feel our passion so that they will bring their passion to the stadium. And not only this stadium, but again, tonight's the first night when we actually can have some people in our basketball arena. Jeremiah's fought for the last couple of weeks to get these basketball games open. As you guys, I'm sure the last weekend he got shot down. Did he stop? He didn't stop, because tonight we're going in the game. And it might only be 1,000 people, but we're going in the game tonight. that he's not going to stop. He's relentless.
Well, we're going to be loud tonight. Bill, do you have any other questions? We're going to wrap this up. I've got one more, but I want to let you do one more question before I wrap it up.
Well, listen, just real quickly, Andy, talk a little bit about your players. And you like where you are. I can tell you're excited about the players. Are you going to there's going to be some runoff, there's going to be, they still have to angle for their position. And is that going to be harder than you expected?
Well, as you know, I mean, we first off, we love our team right now. We love the makeup of it. We're very fortunate that we're able to have 8 super seniors come back. There's a big piece of donors that help take care of that so that we can still have our 85 and bring in our 85 and have the 8 on top of that. That's an additional, obviously that's resources, that's money. And so we're very fortunate so that we can keep building this team forward and also have the super seniors, the ones that wanted to come back. And in that group right there of super seniors, there's unbelievable leadership. Guys that, I've known for a long time. I sat in a lot of those guys' living rooms when we recruited them here. And so from that standpoint, we feel really good about our leadership, not only from those seniors, but all the way down to the freshman class. We got some really remarkable players that are in this program. And, we always say it, iron sharpens iron. We're going to work together and help each other. But in this brotherhood, we help each other. And yes, not everybody can be on the field at one time. But the bottom line is if you deserve a role, you're going to have a role. The beautiful thing about football these days, there's all kinds of different packages. And we'll find a way to get you on the field if you deserve to do so. And the other piece is special teams. We're going to change the game on special teams. I know Korey's all about that right there. In fact, he's the assistant special teams coach. We just haven't told you yet, Tommy.
Hey, anything for you. Anything for you. Hey, that's awesome. Hey, Andy, well, one of the things I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know if it was all my years in the ER, because you walk into a room, you only had a few minutes. I saw over 40,000 patients as a doctor, and you had very quick decisions you had to make. And I became pretty good at like kind of understanding what someone was about. And I got to tell you, man, every time I hear you talk, I'm ready to just run through a wall for you. You've got it's authenticity. And Bill and I have talked about this. The older we get, I think the number one quality we look for people that are around us is, are they authentic? I mean, is the passion, the drive, the vision, is it real? And every single time I hear you talk, it feels so real. I think we're just absolutely blessed to have you back in our community. I know everyone's excited. I want you to know we'll do anything to help in any way we can. We're going to be rooting for you. Can't thank you enough for coming on our show, and looking forward to you just killing it and doing some great things for our state, for our community, for your players, for the lives of these young men. And man, we're just so excited to have you back.
Well, we appreciate you guys more than we can tell you. And we're looking forward to building these relationships with you guys and obviously throughout the community and doing this together, because that's the fun part, is being able to build this thing together. Obviously, Korey and my relationship has always been strong and really good, and I appreciate him. He's my brother. I love him. I would do anything for him, and I look forward to building these relationships with you guys. And this is fun because we get to get on here and share stories about what we do and how we do it. And we're learning from you guys as we go along too, that is going to impact not just, you guys helping the program in terms of resources and doing things like that, but you guys help and actually build into this environment that we're creating. So we appreciate you guys. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Thanks, Andy. We appreciate it.
And everyone, we promise an episode here in the next few coming years that we'll all talk about Korey Hall's mullet and some other exciting past stories about Korey.
I'll gather the pictures.
Hey, there goes both ways, buddy. So be careful.
Thanks, guys. Go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Inspire Excellence podcast. We hope you've heard something today that will inspire you to make a difference in the world. Join us again for our next episode.